Welcome. We are going to talk about 6 steps to picking the best color schemes in your home or for your clients' homes. So I hope you're ready and excited. Let's get going. Let me put my wine down. What are we going to talk about? I've got a lot to share with you. We're going to talk about how color impacts a space, why people are making so many color mistakes now more than ever, and why color is just not about paint in the space. And then I'm going to walk you through, and I told you this, 6 steps to picking the most ideal color schemes in a home. How to assess that silent client, where to start building in your color scheme, because I know color is overwhelming to so many of us. Um, I'm going to give you some hot tips along the way, my tried and true kind of white paint color, and then, of course, photo inspirations all along the way. If I give you a lot of great material in this short little hour that we're spending together, is it okay if I tell you about one of my courses, my color course, and about a special that I'm doing on it? And if that's okay in the chat, please put yes. Just want to make sure. All right. Who is this training for? Really, it's just for anyone who loves learning about color, the design enthusiast or designers and home stagers who really want to grow the color consulting side of their business. They're just not sure how. Design enthusiasts looking to create a business, maybe using their creative talents, or they just love color. And even my real estate agents and just homeowners looking for tips on picking the right color in home. And even my painters, I've had a couple house painters reach out to me saying, I really love when a color scheme comes together. Am I a good fit? Absolutely. This training is for you. And I know I have people at all different levels. If you would, in the chat, if you could say, new or a stager or designer or looking to do business, I'm just curious. It'll be fun to see, yeah, where you're at. I usually have a poll, but it's sometimes easier for everyone else to see where you're at in the poll and who is on this line, because I know I've got lots of you here. Basically, if you like to see before photos, which I'm going to showcase a lot of rooms like this that go like that with the drama of paint, then you're in the right place. And love it or hate it, the color drenching and whatnot, we can all agree color has a huge, huge impact, obviously, on a space. So for those of you who don't know me, really quickly, I'm Audra Slinky. I'm president of the Home Staging Resource, and I started that business back in 2006. I had a staging business before, so I've celebrated over 20 years in the staging and design industry. RESA accredited training back in 2009. I've won lots of awards. I started really first a 3-week staging course, mixed media online, so people can access it online when training was very new back then online. And if you see this logo, those are my people. And then it kind of progressed. My people said, Audra, we're getting a lot of color consultant requests. Can you do a training? And I made a 3-day training. That's my certified color expert training. And then when e-design boards and design boards kind of became popular, I started my expert e-designer training, and most recently did a vacation rental design expert course. And all of these courses are designed so that designers and stagers can add those services to their business very easily. So they get all the materials, tools, forms, what have you. Um, the most important thing you should know about me is I was in your shoes 20 years ago, had a passion for design, and wondered, how can I take that passion and do what I love and make money doing what I love? And so it's been very exciting journey these 20 years. And the thing that I'm most proud of is being able to help people who love design start successful businesses doing what they love, whether it's in color, staging, design, vacation rental design, or even e-design. And I have trained the most award-winning stagers throughout my 20 years in the industry. So if you're any of my people on the line, I get nervous every time I do these live events. A shout out, I always appreciate in the chat. This training, and this may seem odd to you, but it starts with a school bus, because how many of you in the chat have made a color mistake? A paint color mistake, or maybe you picked the wrong finish color or something where you're like, oh my goodness, what did I just do? Well, that was me. I was pregnant with my first child in 2000. And as with every pregnant woman, I wanted to nest, make great changes in my house. And I had my painter come over, and I wanted a really soft, pale, kind of cheerful cream, a complex, kind of creamy color. And the painter said, no, you want something a little more bold. It sounds like you just want to work a little more down the color wheel. And of course, I couldn't be there when he painted the entire interior of my house. So when I walked in for the big reveal, guess what color it was? Yes, the color of the school bus. And my 8-month pregnant self, tears, so upset with myself, so upset that I didn't test it, didn't go through all of the steps I should have done and trusted. And this is a mistake that happens. And my wonderful husband, of course, allowed me to repaint and we fixed it. But I say this because you're not alone. I'm not alone. You all said me. We all get this. Nobody is immune. And if you want to no, I just searched how's picked the wrong paint color. And there's over hundreds of thousands of discussions of people who picked the wrong paint color or picked the wrong finish. And the thing is, it's not just about paint. If you pick the wrong finish color, it can be very, very expensive. It was expensive for me to have to repaint my entire house, and more expensive if I picked the wrong granite color or the wrong cabinet color. But anyway, so why is color so important, to us? Because people like myself, they're making mistakes with color now more than ever. And that's just the way of it right now. In fact, almost half of all paint sales, this is an older statistic, but I doubt it's changed. It's probably, if anything, gotten worse as more and more people are doing DIY projects now more than ever, have picked the wrong paint. So imagine that. Because, you guys, what design element has the most impact in a space? Color. That is it. I mean, you can talk about scale and proportion, and that definitely has impact. You can talk about, rhythm. You can talk about all these design elements, but really color is the one. And interestingly, if you don't believe me, I've got all sorts of stats for you, but Zillow is a home, it's a real estate website, and they analyze homes that are sold, 32,000 homes that are sold, and they have analyzed and said that color can impact the price of a home, give it a boost, or even help it lose money. Even the color of the front door can factor into how much money that home gets in the sale. So it can up or down almost 26,000. And they do these statistics like every other year, and it's always kind of going up. And the color really does affect not just real estate, but it affects the way we live. In this other statistic, it says the Harris poll found that 40% of recent sellers paint their home's interior before selling. So they're repainting. They're already not living in the color that they probably should be. And they most of all of them agreed that that helped them sell. So even if you're a stager, you've known this. But why has color, more importantly, become so critical? I think, especially over the last handful of years, is because remodeling is on the rise, right? We've all seen it, building everywhere. And if you don't believe me, here's the Zonda report, residential remodeling index. And here's the forecast that says that that rise is not going away. It's going to be keep ticking up through 2028 and actually through 2030. It says the data suggests that because so many people have been on the sidelines of selling their home, that the remodeling industry is projected to experience these levels for the next handful of years. They've been doing deferred projects. What are deferred projects? They're usually some sort of renovation. And can we all agree there are more choices in fixed finishes and furnishings now more than ever? I mean, how many of you agree with that? That there is, everywhere you look, every time you're back online or on scrolling on Instagram, especially if you love design, there's some new vendor, there's some new product, there's some new new tiles. I mean, it used to be we would just go to our big box store, right? Let's go to Home Depot, let's go to Lowe's, let's see what they have. Okay, we'll pick this vanity, we'll pick this. No longer, which is wonderful, wonderful. But you know what it means? It means people are making mistakes. And I love this. I did this quick video. Hopefully this works. I can't tell, but here I'm on Floor and Decor, and it says you can shop by project. What kind of tile do you want? Do you want it by size? So it's listing it by size. How about tile by material? Do you want ceramic, glass? How about tile by shape? We can shop, and there's just 10 shapes to pick from, or style that you want to go for. And then it just continues to go. So you can imagine that the average DIYer who doesn't love design like you and color could feel a little overwhelmed just by going to pick the right tile at their local tile place, right? So these many choices can't help but lead to a lot of confusion, and expensive mistakes. And we're seeing them all the time because color is not just about picking paint color. Um, and that is kind of what I'm seeing more often than not. I shared this in my trends training a while back that even builders, I think, are making a little bit of wrong, high-end builders, wrong finish choices. How many of you guys, especially if you're designers and stagers in this chat, are seeing these kind of finish color mistakes in some of the projects, obviously not the projects you're working on, but the homes that you're walking into? Yeah, when I spoke at the RESA convention, I do this. I always get a handful. I'm speaking to hundreds of stagers and designers, and I said, how many of you are seeing this? Everybody raised their hand because there are so many choices. Trends are changing. They're moving very rapidly. So I added these couple slides as a joke. It's kind of fun. I thought you'd appreciate it. If you don't believe me, if you're that small sliver in this that says, no, I don't see that many mistakes. I have been shopping. I've been doing a bathroom remodel, and I was shopping on Wayfair for different tile. And more often than not, what I love when I shop on Wayfair or House and you're looking up a tile is there's a thing called reviews. And if you find any tile there and you look at the reviews, and I just picked any one of them, people are showcasing their brand newly renovated, bathroom, kitchen, whatever it is that they put that tile in. And I was shocked at how many of these spaces were just bad choices. So if you don't believe me, here's just a few photos I pulled up. And I don't want to like do this to mock at people. It's really more because we learn by looking. Do you think that they picked the most ideal finished choices in this shower? Or this one? This one particularly cracked me up because this one I think they broke a bunch of tiles and they just used one line. You see all the broken tiles there? Yeah. I don't know what they're doing there. Maybe just trying to get creative. And this one kind of cracked me up too. It was like, and this is more often than not what I saw. It was like they couldn't decide, and it was just like tile vomit all over the bathrooms and kitchens. And it's easy for us to look at. I mean, these aren't professionals, right? These are DIYers on Wayfair. So, I think they're probably going to be a little upset 5 years from now. But here are some photos I have from House. And I'm gonna test you guys. You guys are great. I love that you're interactive. This is so fun. But like I said, we learn by looking at what works and what doesn't work. And that's how we train our eyes. And this is the way I do all my trainings, lots of photos. Do you think they picked in this house, this is a designer photo, the most ideal fixed finishes from the backsplash to the granite? You've already said, no, I can see it. Yeah. No. Uh, what about this kitchen? And here's the thing, you see this. This is a really good example of how people have eclectic tastes, right? They have the taupey walls, which maybe would work with a cream cabinet, but not with the marble countertop and the blue backsash, right? Very confusing, very mixed. This one, now I'm gonna really test you. What do you think is off in this kitchen? And here's where I'm gonna pick some beautiful kitchens because this is from House, and I'm not gonna tell you that they're terrible. They're not. They're just not ideal. Yeah, someone Cara said too much, too much. Pick one. So I have this thing I tell anyone who asks me, when you're doing a remodel, pick one thing that's gonna wow. This granite could be the wow, or that backsplash could be the wow, but you don't want the two wows, right? It's just too much, just too much. And that's a color issue as well, because you've just got a mix of too much. And it's okay if it's a thoughtful mix, and designers certainly can do it, but more often than not, it doesn't work. Now I'm really going to test you because this is a very expensive kitchen remodel. What do you think is off in this kitchen? And this is going to be a harder one for you guys to decide. If you said the backsplash subway, Julie, winner, winner. And why is that? Well, everything in this kitchen is warm, right? You've got the creams, you've got the warm wood, you've got the warmer countertop, and the bright white subway tile feels off, right? Now, if they had done a cream or an off-white, no problem, right? So it's just these little things. This is a beautiful kitchen. Is it ideal? No. And the same situation with this kitchen. Again, the busy. This is what you see a lot of, just a lot of busy. Um, Bathrooms, again, these are expensive remodels where people want to put it all in there. They want the wow, but they wowed too much, right? And this one is my favorite because it's even in my training. I mean, it's been my lifelong favorite because this is a very expensive outdoor kitchen that these people put in, and it was advertised on this stone website. It is Fairy Flintstones. It just now we're just having fun, right? So, yeah. And so I'm not here to like, hey, nobody's perfect. It is, but the point being that it's really hard. It's easy to make these expensive color mistakes, and color mistakes can even be made with something as simple as paint color. And we're going to talk about this when I get into my 6 steps. But I had to show you some of these. This is not the most ideal paint color. Why? Look at that fireplace. The fireplace stone, which is your fixed finish, this is what I'm going to say is your silent client. It's dictating what direction that neutral needs to go on the walls. And the green, I think is more of a green beige, does not go with this pink beige fireplace. They just conflict. So let's talk about the 3 goals. This is my 3 goals for picking paint. And I'm going to show you a lot of really good photos of what looks great too. Don't worry, it's easy to criticize, but paint should be the backdrop to great design. Paint should enhance the furnishings. It should bring them together. It should harmoniously bond the room, the finishes, the fixtures in the space. It should typically never be the main event unless it fulfills the top 2 goals. Now, how many of you have been seeing a lot of color drenching paint being the main event? And we're having a lot of fun with it. And it's kind of fun to see, especially because we're bouncing off this extreme white trend and gray to white trend. And people are like, show me color, show me warmth, I want it. And it's fun, but as long as it enhances that space and works with everything, then it works. So here's just some fun before and afters from some of my people who shared their photos. This is a beautiful dining room made, I believe, more beautiful by the colors that she picked. Again, enhancing, connecting the space with all similar undertones of neutral, and then even adding architectural elements. Here's another before photo, because I know you guys love to see these things, where you can see this is a staged room. So Stephanie had to just really kind of connect it, and she did. Here is a design job of a very, boring beige dining room, punched up with a bit of color and geometric design. This is an Airbnb design. How many of you design Airbnbs? I'll be curious in the chat, because that's just such a hot form of design these days, because it's just, who doesn't use Airbnbs all the time? In an Airbnb, you can get a little crazy, right? It's a little bit more fun because you want to stand out on the photos. Well, I love what NSM Staging did. I mean, this bedroom now stands out. People in Joshua Tree searching for that fun vibe is going to choose that. So let's get to my 6 steps. I'm going to quickly tell you them, and then I'm going to go through them in more detail. Obviously, to stay in the timeline of this time that we have together, this is a huge portion, obviously, of my 3-day training, but I'm going to give you a glimpse of it so you can kind of see. And this is why I do these live workshops, so that you can see, if you do purchase any one of my courses, you get a really clear idea of what it's going to look like. Okay, 6 steps. First, you got to listen to the client goals and the color sensitivity of the client. Not all clients are the same. Listen to the home. Number 2, listen to the home's fixed element, what I call the silent client. That's the stuff that you really can't change usually. So we always ask the client, are we changing this? Can we get rid of this? If not, we got to work around it, right? Then you start with finding the right white. And then you identify the undertones or the neutrals in the fixed finishes and furnishings, the silent client. And once you've done that, you can then identify the right neutral to pick following color rules. There's very specific color rules, both for white and neutrals. I'm going to walk you through it. Finally, once you've done that, then we can pick the color, the punch. Color is typically picked last, the two, whites and neutrals, being the two most difficult ones to get right. I think most of us can sometimes agree on that one. All right, so let's see this in practice. And please save your questions till the end because I'm definitely here to answer those. So step number one, we need to listen to what your client goals are and their color sensitivity level. I will never forget my very first color consultation. I'm in there thinking she's just going to want it really subtle. And she just is like, no, I want drama. And it surprised me because you never know what kind of client you're going to have. And you can never specify an ideal scheme without first listening to what they want, because this is their home, and also what the home is telling you where to go. In my training, and you can take a screenshot of this or phone if you don't have, like, I have these order sheets for every type of design service that you would offer, because I think are important to have so that you ask the right questions. Obviously, getting the client's information, you already kind of have that, but really asking, it's kind of a getting to know you. This is what you do in a discovery call. And of course, you see the questions involve, talking about the fixed finishes, but most importantly, talking about how would you rate your color sensitivity. Always, always ask your clients that. On a scale of 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, what is your 8 being most bold, what is your color sensitivity? How many of you in this chat, where is your color sensitivity? I'd be curious. If I was going to ask you that, in a space, are you like, bring on the color, or I'm a more neutrals, accessorize with colors? I love it. I love it. Great. But those are just some key questions you would want to ask, right? Because, and this is, what I tell my clients, and this is just a good analogy when you're talking to your own clients or you're thinking of your own home, is color sensitivity is like hot sauce. Some of us can't do any spice, while others are like, spice me up, bring on the jalapenos. And here's some good examples of different clients with different color sensitivities, but all beautiful rooms that I pulled from House. I mean, we can all agree that this color client is probably similar to this color client, although they wanted the color in the space versus and the walls just to be the backdrop, versus this color client, right? All beautiful spaces, all worked well, but it just depends on really what the outcome is that they wanted for that space, what the mood is that they wanted to convey. And that's where you can see color really does that. So after we've done that, and that's a pretty simple step, right? Then we have to look at the home's fixed elements. And I've already showed you some photos of fixed elements that didn't go well with the color schemes, what you can't change, because these are things that we have to work around. And then we pick white first. And usually in my training, when I tell people this, because a lot of people didn't know that, it just gives people kind of a whoosh. You're simplifying. We got to break color up, because how many of you think, and this probably why you're on this training, I mean, and I would even agree with this, that color can be a little overwhelming. Yes. I mean, in the chat, go ahead and put, yeah. There's thousands of paint colors to choose from, and there's more introduced every year. So when you break color down, I find that it's easier for us and even for your clients. So if you're a color consultant, you're talking to your client, you're categorizing color in a way that they can grasp it, okay? And in a way you can grasp it as well. So in my training, I break it down. There's 3 categories of color. There's whites. We all kind of know what those are. And that's pure white, off-white, cream, and tinted. Neutrals. And I know for those of you who are real color sticklers and formula, see, this is the thing. My training's not like all color formula theory. It's more color practical. So I'm really simplifying it, because I do this because your clients will need it simplified too when you talk to them. So I know there's more than this, but this is the way I simplify it. And I think this is the way people can grasp it more easily. And by the way, it's simplified like this on the Sherwin-Williams paint deck as well. There's neutrals, beige, taupes, grays. And then there's the colors, right? The red, blue, green. So when you kind of break it down like that, it's a little easier to understand. Seems easy, but the first 2 categories of color should also be broken down by undertone. And that's where you see a lot of the mistakes. So we're starting with white. How many of you on this, if hopefully you can see it, if you just put your paint deck, this is a Benjamin Moore whites, against a white backdrop, whether it be white cabinet or like a white piece of paper, in this case it was white fabric, which white is the most white in this Benjamin Moore? Oh, we got a voice recording. I don't know how to get rid of that. Don't do any of that. All right. Thank you, Danielle. Yes. But could you imagine that somebody who did not lay it out in front of a white would think, I'm going to go pure white. I want my room to be pure white. Would that be a mistake? Yeah, it would be a huge mistake, because when we break down whites, this is how you break it down. There's 4 types. There's the pure white. That is Chantilly lace on a Benjamin Moore. There's the off-white. That is white dove. There's the creams, and there's the tinted whites. And guess what? Pure white, which is described as pure white, is actually a blue tinted white. So you would have, if you didn't if you didn't want to have that, you'd be picking wrong. And this is kind of stuff that our clients need to know about. So here's some basic rules, because at some point we're all going to be picking white for our trims, usually our ceilings, our doors. Most all of us go white in those. Look behind me, white trim. It's very, very 99.9% of homes have some sort of white in their color scheme. So choose the type of white based on the fixed finishes. We're going to walk you through. Choose white, off-white, or blue-white for marble. If your kitchen's got marble countertops, or the white quartzite, grays, white, or black fixed finishes. Those are your safer whites. And really, I just excluded cream. I just took cream off the map on that. Choose cream or off-white when the fixed finishes in the space, or the home in general, like a craftsman type of home, are earth tone, a lot of browns, a lot of tans, maybe some travertine. That's when creams and off-whites go well. You can flex pure white in a beige space for trim and ceilings and moldings. It's actually fine in that case, but it's more ideal to go with an off-white. And pure and off-white looks best with really clean, bright colors, while creams look good with more muted earth tone colors. And I think intuitively, you may have kind of known that. How many of you guys realize that? But to actually see it, how it works, is different. So let's look at some photos. Marble countertops, pure white cabinets. Yeah, so you see the difference. See how that looks. Could they have done off-white? That would have worked too. Cream, not as ideal. Here's an example of where they did do kind of a creamy cabinet with the pure white marble. So to see, and maybe they were trying to match with the travertine that they were stuck with. So here's where you have a little bit of a problem, right? It's not most ideal. This is a very expensive kitchen, right? Remodel on a house. But it's like, pick a lane. And remember this one. Yeah, you want to pick a lane for a more ideal. So here's a good example of an ideal kind of this lane. They have the granite, the travertine, so they went with the cream cabinets, and it all kind of works well. So here's kind of my staging design, and even for my design enthusiasts, I even, everybody asks this. So if you're going to pick, if I really had to pick what white, what would I go with? I would just pick off-white. I mentioned off-white goes with pure white, off-white goes with the creams. It's kind of your universal white that works. So if you just want no questions about it, and white dove is probably one of my, or alabaster, it's one of in the Sherwin-Williams, is kind of the most ideal because it works with everything. And here's just some photos of white dove by one of my favorite designers, Martha O'Hare, on house. And you can see how it flexes with pure white spaces like this. And it looks like it's a true white, but it's actually, this is off-white. And works well. Yeah, Anya's like, yep, I picked it. So how do we choose white on walls? So that's how you pick it on the trim, doors, that sort of thing, and cabinets. But white on walls is a little bit different. White on walls is also really popular because it does photograph so much better than it looks. How many of you have noticed that? I'll be curious. Put me in the chat. White, that Instagrammable white photographs so well, the light, bright, airy. But if you walked into that space, it doesn't. It looks like your son's first apartment. I'm kidding. I say that because I have a son in college. So the true irony is white is actually one of the least safe colors to choose on walls. And here's some of the rules I'm going to walk you through. So you can see my example, Studio McGee. Who doesn't love Studio McGee? And you can see so much of what they pick is white, but in their photos, it's all airy, dreamy, professionally photographed, looks fantastic in the photos. And of course I love their design. But in person, it wouldn't look as much like that. Yeah, someone said sterile, and you're absolutely right. In person, this is not Studio McGee. In person, this is what you get because most rooms are not bathed in white light. So it just kind of looks blah. Or in this case, just kind of looks like your son's first apartment out of college. I'm kidding. I don't know. It's just looks a little blah. No personality, someone said. Very good. I love it. You guys are putting the right words in my mouth. Thank you. So how do we, if we really want white on our walls, how do we make it work? Okay, and this is how you can tell your clients, this is how you make it work. And I'm gonna show you some good examples of how it works. All white walls obviously work really well when there's tons of natural light. Otherwise, it'll be a little shadowy and depressing. Think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I know I'm dating myself there. But save your questions. I'm going to get to them. All white walls, because of that, all that lighting, work really well in coastal homes that are bathed in light. Think Meredith Bear. If you don't know who Meredith Bear is, she's like the it stager in Los Angeles who has said that every wall she paints pure white. And you don't blame her because these are the kind of homes that she gets. Look at them. They're bathed in light, coastal light, and of course then the white looks great. All white walls also look great when the large furnishings are white. Think your couches are white, your chairs are white. White goes well with white. And it also works when there's lots of texture and layers because white can look, somebody mentioned, very sterile. We need those layers. We need those architectural elements to add interest to the room. They look really good against wonderful art, right? People who are your art enthusiasts, your art collectors, spectacular wall coverings. White looks great behind it. And they work really good with carefully placed contrast. So again, remember my rule of paint in general is it should focus on the key elements of the space. I love it. You guys are good. So here's some good examples of white done right. Why do you think there's white on this wall? It's a staged home done by my friend Todd in Seattle. What do you think white does in this space? Go ahead and put it in the chat. And it goes to, yes, view. It is the backdrop to the most important element in the space. And how perfect is that? But what did they do right about the white in the space? Because they followed every one of my rules. Not that they, look at all the texture, the sisal rug, the furry little pillows, the great art. Did I mention white goes great with art? And then the focus on the view. So everything, and also the large furnishings are also white. They don't look like little black holes against a white room. Here's another great example done by Todd. And here's that bedroom. I mean, look at that skyline, right? So it is the backdrop to the most important element in the space. So that's when it also works well. And still look at all the texture that they added to the space. Yeah, texture also helps to elevate it. Thank you, Venetia. So my girl Leah Ward, she is one of my people. She was right where you were at. I'm trying to remember when she started with me. She took my staging and design course, launched her business, and is now staging for celebrities on HGTV. And her signature is white. And I love it. I'm very proud of her. She's been featured in all sorts of magazines. Like I said, she just did the Design Network whole program. But here is some of her work where you can see where perfect examples of how white works so well in this space. Look at all the architectural element, which by the way is a lot of texture in the space, how she uses the large white furnishings. Here's a before photo, lest you be confused. And then here's her after. She incorporates great art. Even her furniture has a lot of interesting contrast, very sculptural elements. And feel free to ooh and ah. Here's a before photo. I like to show these because sometimes I can tell you, but you have to see it. I've got a lot of it. And then here's the after of the space. Her chunky knit throws, the velvet pillows, a lot of natural elements. Yeah. So she's following that white rule. So now you know. If your client wants white on the walls, here's what we need in this place. So we've identified our client goals. We've asked the right questions. We've listened to the client's current choices, the color cues, the home's fixed elements. We've identified the right white and or not picking white on the wall, which means we're probably then going to need to pick a neutral, right? Most people, you don't need a white on the wall. Most people are going to pick some sort of neutral for the overall part of their space. So how do we do that? How do we identify the undertones of the neutrals? Well, we have to do it we have to identify the right neutral by following some color rules. Here is where most people get it wrong. They get it wrong in the neutral. Do you agree or disagree? Most people get it wrong in the neutral categories, picking the right beiges, grays for their space and when it comes to paint colors, because that's such a big area. Here's some rules. There's really no such thing as a tried and true neutral because some undertones just don't get along. Remember that photo I showed you where the fireplace surround, they thought they were picking a neutral paint color, but it was a direct conflict of undertone. Every neutral has an undertone. Unlike colors, neutrals and whites have those undertones. I showed you in the whites what the undertones are. Now we're going to go look at some undertones in neutrals. And they don't all work with each other. And lighting also affects the way the undertone will show. So we have to, that's why testing is always so important. And if you or ever thought that clients should be confused or you'd be confused about neutrals, here is your Sherwin-Williams deck and here's all your neutral colors. Can we all put yes in the chat if you agree that there are quite a few neutrals to choose from and it is so confusing to people, right? It's like, where do I start? Yeah, crazy. So let's break it down. I'm going to simplify it for you. And I know my color theory people are going to be like, Audra, there's not two types. Well, I'm simplifying it, you guys. This is how we get our clients to understand it. This is how we can better understand it. There's two types of neutrals. I'm just going to say it. Grays, beiges. Now, of course, we went through the beige trend in the early 2000s and it segued into the gray trend, into the white trend. And now people are calling it the complex creams, but really I'm going to say it's beige. What are beiges? They're more kind of the tan undertones and versus the beige neutrals and the gray neutrals. You can call it the complex cream neutrals if you'd prefer. I'm being silly, but yeah. So this is a photo of the old Sherwin-Williams architectural deck. How many of you have the old Sherwin-Williams architectural deck? That one, they discontinued right when the gray trend came in to throw in a bunch more grays, and which is fine. But what I love about it is I could spread it out, and here you can more easily see on a photo. Don't worry, now you can see the photo of the undertones of each beige neutral. So these are the beiges in a paint color. So you can see far left, if you go down the strip, it's green beige. That is the undertone. To gold beige, to yellow beige, to orange beige, there's a taupe beige and a pink beige. And like I said, not all of these undertones go well with each other. So it's easier to see. Now on the current Sherwin-Williams deck, this is the gray section, because this was obviously launched during the gray trend. And here you have your grays, green grays. I'm going to call the green grays grays. A lot of people use it as another type, but let's just call it grays. You got your true gray. How many of you know, this is a trick question, what is the truest gray paint color on the Sherwin-Williams deck? And if you've taken my color training, don't answer. But this is how you determine an undertone of the other grays by putting it up against a sample of this. Anyone know? I'll be so curious. No. And then there's blue gray. There's violet gray. These are good guesses. And there's blue violet gray. And there's blue green gray. Repost it is. Jackie, you're right. Repost is the truest gray. It has 0 undertone color. Yeah, repost gray. So if you want to know, if you're like looking at another gray, but it's so small you can't really tell, put it up against repost and you'll be like, oh, it's violet. We don't want violet, So it just helps to compare because you really can only tell sometimes what the color is going to feel like when you compare it against another color. Do you guys agree? Yeah. So here's how I really break down. I like simple, but did you know that of the thousands of brand specific paint colors for Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams, those are the two big brands, there's really only about 100 or just over 100 that are used 85% of the time for their main homes, for their neutrals. They're most popular. Most of those 100 are, of course, some form of neutral or white. No surprise there because that's what everybody buys, some form of neutral, white, and then a color. This is true for almost every paint manufacturer. So it doesn't matter if it's Sherwin-Williams, Venture it's, there's just that top 100. And it shouldn't be too surprising since most people want some form of neutral, like I've mentioned, for most of their home. Remember their goals. They want it to be kind of the backdrop to good design. So secrets to picking ideal color schemes is if you know those top 100 paint colors and the undertones of those neutrals, it really, really helps to really narrow down and specify what color. So if you're going into the space and you see the undertones of the couch to the carpet to the flooring, and you're like, okay, most of these undertones are green beige, it's more ideal to pick some type of matching green beige paint to again unify the space. Remember, it's the backdrop. So identifying those common undertones, don't add another undertone to it, and unify by picking a similar undertone. So here is my cheat code. It's a little bit of a cheat code. It's in my training. I actually have in my training, it's kind of our Bible of paint colors. It's a cheat sheet. It's the top 100 of Benjamin Moore and of Sherwin-Williams, and we went through each one of those and we put in their type and their undertone. So if you had, for instance, like I said, that client who needs to go the direction because their home is telling them in green beige, I could then go to, let's say Benjamin Moore is what they wanted, and go to kind of more of the tried and true because these are the top 100. And there would be one, two, three, there would be about, now there's more, this is original, about 6 really good ones that they can choose from, and we can narrow that down and have them test 3. And this is how you can shortcut your consultation choices. Thank you, Crystal. It is an amazing tool. I can't even tell you all the work that we put into that tool. So it's in my color training, but it really does help to narrow so that you're like, okay, here are the 3 or 4 that we can use, which ones. And there's notes on each because we're really familiar, and it's in a kind of a spreadsheet format, and it has the swatch there so they can even see it. So let's backtrack. 6 steps to picking ideal color choices. We've listened to their goals. We looked at the fixed elements. We've identified the right white for trim, doors, all that. We've identified the undertones, neutrals in the space so that we can identify what is the most ideal neutral, similar undertone. We've got to go with that. And then once we've picked the white, the neutral, then we can add the colors, right? And how do you pick colors? Rules for picking colors, this is the beauty of color, is luckily there's no undertones, so they don't get tricky. They're mostly all saturated, right? Not all colors obviously go well together, but we intuitively can kind of guess that. It's the same way you wouldn't wear a bright red t-shirt with burgundy pants, right? Those colors, that's kind of a bright color to a more saturated, more, muted color. It just don't mix as well. Some colors don't get along, but for the most part, you can start with the color I always say that the clients have always loved. And this is the beauty of not following trends. I talk a lot about color trends, but I always tell clients, don't just follow the color trend that's on trend. What is the color that you've always loved that you will never get tired of? And that is the one. So when they start with that, they will never not love it. And consider doing a 10, 10, 20, 60 scheme using color as the accents, the 10 to 10, something they can easily swap. And then 20 being the white and 60 being the neutral that they pick. Why? Again, we want that paint color to be the backdrop to the design element. Let's put those colors in the design element because color easily gets exhausting. So beware of color drenching. It looks great, but it can be an energy drain. Color is the biggest impact on a space as a design element, so it can be very exhausting. So maybe consider color drenching in smaller or unused spaces for that drama, but not the everyday lived in spaces, a little harder to live with. So now that you know, it's not just about picking paint. You cannot make color choices in a vacuum. And I hope you use these words with your clients. It's so true. When a client says, can you just give me a color over the phone? What's your tried and true color? Nope. We're going to need a color consultation because I cannot make choices in a vacuum. Your home is telling me what direction we should go. And I could give you a tried and true neutral that's going to conflict with what's in your home. There's no ideal. We got to look at the home. That's why you, as a color expert, people who are learned, they understand color, is so important. Don't be afraid to tell the ugly story. Don't be afraid. The ugly story is real. Like I said, you said, how many of you have seen color mistakes? All of us. So now that you know, people have too many finished choices. They're making mistakes. People want to spend money on their projects, but they desperately need your advice. Use the 6 steps to help those clients pick the most ideal color choices for their fixture, their furnishings. Again, it's not just about paint, it's about helping them pick all those renovation colors that are going to work together, and expect more design work together. How many of you in this chat already do those type of color consultations for your clients, whether it's fixed finishes or paint colors? I'll just be curious, but put me in the chat. Yeah, I love it. So I have a worksheet that I have in my training, and it's obviously a lot of shorthand, but it really, really helps. But you can see, you can kind of get the gist where we're talking about their color sensitivity, CS, and we worksheet it out based on what is going on in the home. I love this story. One of my clients, she had opened her mouth. She had taken my staging course at a BNI group that she could do color consults. She started staging, and then lo and behold, the next week she got 2 color consultation referrals from people. And she called them, made an appointment. She was kind of panicked because she didn't have a tried and true process for ideally picking the right color scheme. You've got a glimpse of my 6 steps, so you could use those. So she took my color course, my certified color expert course. She had already taken my stager training, like I said, to get her confidence. She went out and she did it. Now she's working on purchasing the flooring for the client, which the client said she previously wouldn't do. She's painting her cabinets, which again, the client said she wouldn't do. And now she's helping her also redesign her master bedroom. And she just loved every step of it, because the point is, when you are educating your clients from a place of authority and then also showing them examples about why this doesn't work, then they get it. I love those stories. Now that you know color is complicated, save your questions. I'm still gonna go over them. Having that process. So I'm a big believer. Anyone who's taken my training, so I have a process for everything, and it's not necessarily for you. I know that you guys are great at design. It's for you to communicate some of that process, because when you can communicate that process to your clients, guess what happens? They believe in you. You become credible. You can easily tell the ugly story because you have a process or a reasoning behind it. So positioning that process for more design business is how your design business grows. I mean, I can talk forever on that, but this story, Erin Georgie, I love. She moved to a new area. She had a staging. She was a stager and designer. She just didn't want to go through the process of starting that business all over, and she wanted to just simplify by doing color consults. And that's when she found my training. What I love with it is she went ahead, she walked into her local Sherwin-Williams and her Benjamin Moore, and she totally connected with the sales reps there. Obviously, it didn't hurt that she gave them crumble cookies for every referral that they sent her, but that alone gave her so much business, which I love. So she's like, I love the training. It's a full-time income, just working a few hours a day for her, which is exactly what she wanted. So somebody asked, what would you charge for a color consultation? Well, you could do some color math, and obviously this varies across the country. I always say Newport Beach, California is different than Shreveport, Louisiana. But if I'm going to give you a flat, you're just starting out fee for a color consultation, I would say $350 for about 2 hours in the home. If you're just starting out, brand new, entry level. Now that'll change if you probably live in California or whatever, or if you're an experienced designer, obviously. But if you were to just charge $350 and do 2 color consults a day, so that's 4 hours of work, or 4 to 5 hours, you'd be making $14,000 a month, or $168,000 a year. I'm just doing the math on a zero overhead business. It's 5 hours a day, 25 hours a week. One color consult is $350, which would translate to $7,000 a month, $84,000 a year on 12 and a half hours of work a week. So I like to do the math so people can see. If they just want to dip their toe and just market color, assuming no design work upsell, which you saw from Kathy's story, it immediately turned into new flooring, new paint. Like, of course it was a design job. And that's usually how color does. Color is kind of a gateway. How many of you on this chat love, I mean, does color get you a little bit excited talking about it? If that's you, put me. Well, I have a business model for color consultation. So if you love this, what I love about it is a zero overhead business. If you're already a stager and designer, this is kind of a no-brainer because it's kind of that simplified. You're already kind of having to do it, but it takes the mystery out of it. It taps into your love of color. It's easy to market. Color consultations are easy to market. I'm going to show you really quickly how I would recommend you market it. Easy to partner. I mentioned Aaron Georgie, partner with Sherwin-Williams, partner with other painters. It's a fast-growing industry because people are making mistakes, right? And you do make more money than just the average staging consult. With two color consultations alone would pay for this entire course. So my course is 3 days. It's online, it's at your fingertips. You have access to it for a year to get through it. And it just gives you all the tools and resources. We do mail you a package with the Sherwin-Williams deck, with a binder for you to organize by type the large color samples that I walk you through how to order so that you have them with you on your color consultations if you desire. Um, and we also have a manual. It's also downloadable. Of course, it comes with the cheat sheet. It comes with all the forms. It comes with your price form, your process form. It comes with also your order sheet, all asking the right questions right from the start. It's 6 modules. So like I said, broken up in 3 days. The first module is what you'd get if you just took any color course. Probably this is all they'd go over. And that's just kind of the rule of color, the color wheel, all that sort of stuff that you already know. Then we talk about rules. And then we talk about how we interpret those rules in a space. We look at a lot of homes, a lot of rooms, and how we create that palette. And then I spend a lot of time on how you would process your consultation for authority, for upsell, if you're going to upsell design work, and then how you'd market it. And we give you those marketing essentials so that you can easily market this service. Now, I am doing right now a limited time discount. So if you have any interest at all, or maybe you're one of my stagers or designers, you're waiting for this discount, um, using this coupon code Color Love, you will save $50. That's the lowest discount I ever give on my color course when you buy it before Friday at midnight. So I do this. I will not be having a discount on this course for quite a long time because you guys know when I do these workshops, I only do discounts on the workshop, and then I don't usually do workshops much over the summer. I usually take the summer off. So Color Love. So if you're any interest at all, this is the coupon code for you. I'm also doing another huge discount, and I've never done this before, and I don't know if I'll do it again. It's kind of an experiment. But how many of you in this chat don't have any business at all? And you would love the idea of maybe just starting a color consulting business, but you don't know how to even start a business. Anybody? Me? Because last time I did this, I had a lot of people who were like, I need the foundational business training. Well, I have a foundational business course. That is my HSR staging and redesign course. That is my 3-week course. And for a limited time, I have added it as a bundle. If you do the color course and you put in the coupon code, you can bundle the HSR course and actually save $150. That's the most I've ever given. But I'm trying this experiment because I'm really curious. I've had a lot of people who took the color course and then they didn't know how to really start a business. And that is what the staging course does. It is foundational for staging and design. And it's 3 weeks. So this is my 3-week Big Daddy. You can bundle. So if you're one of those people who are like, I'm going for it, at $2,000, you're going to have the 2 courses and all the training that you need for both color and staging. So here is one of the new things that we've added to, if you do color consultations, how many of you actually give your clients a paint selections beautiful guide that they can walk away with? Anybody in the chat do that? Put me. Anyway, we added this. It's a Canva template. It's beautiful, and we've done all the work for you. So you can change the color schemes, the font schemes. You make it your own, but it's a leave behind. So it's in PDF, and you're not changing any of these pages. Actually, the only page you would be editing is the paint colors that you chose. So it's one page. It walks them through paint schedules, paint sheens. It walks them through how to sample the paint selections. It walks them through painting tips if they're painting themselves. So it really gives them all the information they would need. And it's in a Canva template. So if you were to take this PDF and showcase it or show it to like Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore, this again, marketing, or even painters in your area, like I'm a color consultant, this is the kind of stuff, it's very clear when I leave behind for your clients, the kind of colors, I'm very specific about what they should have. It is in my color training. Yes, we just added this into the color training. So color training, like I said, it's kind of for everybody, whether you're looking into the industry, you're a new stager, veteran, agent. It's awesome. I love this story. Elizabeth was actually, she's a big time designer. She's an award-winning designer and stager. She's been in the business since 2000. She took my color training. She's just only because she's a firm believer in just continual education. She's just always investing in herself. So very smart. She wanted to stay on top of her craft. So she, decided to jump in. She's all being very literal, having that checklist to follow and that 6-step process is going to give me the level of confidence I was lacking. The marketing and forums will take my business the next level. I'm so excited, which I love. Here's another thing that we did. Yeah, somebody said, it's a Canva template that we have in our training. Again, how many of you know how many of you use Canva? Put me in the chat. We have these Canva templates in all the training because it's not enough to show you how to do something. We need to give you all the materials so that you're not reinventing. And that's what makes my trainings pretty different than a lot of other training out there. So we give you these Canva templates to make you look good. So here's a classic example of a Canva template that, again, you would edit, but it's a sales piece and it would be on your website, on your color page. If somebody comes to your website, they find you and they want information on color, they're just not certain if they want to go with you, but they would really be curious, wouldn't they, about wanting to know the 6 common color mistakes and how to fix them. Again, it's very catchy, sexy. You could even put this on a social media post, drive people to your website. This is called a sales funnel where you do that. And I have sales funnels for every one of your design services. So that's that. And then Alicia, you can still just take the color course. Marla asked the question, are the links to courses with it? The staging is, my staging course is $12.97, but if you bundle it with the color course, you're going to save $150 on that and $50 on the color course. So it's a huge, huge discount. And I'm just testing this out for once. So Alicia's story is she just took the color course and she got lots of business just doing that, which I love. So again, discounts go away Friday at midnight. The discount is Color Love. If you have any questions, you're going to get emails from me following up on this and the email reply. If you did in the chat, did you learn anything in this hour with me? Anyone say me? Put me in the chat if you learned anything in this hour, any tips. Oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. So I always say this. So I do these webinars because if you learned something in this hour, imagine 3 days with me in the color course, or imagine 3 weeks with me in the staging course, because I really do give you lots of information. This is why my stagers and designers are the most award-winning. They're award-winning because they have successful businesses. I'm pretty hyper-focused on not just your business, but also marketing your business and you making money doing what you love. So I'm super glad. I'm really glad that you love the undertones. The staging course is about 4 to 6 hours a day for the 3 weeks. And it's set up. You're setting up the whole foundation for your business. It's kind of here you go, and then here's how you set it up. I love it. Somebody said I struggle with it's hard to pick paint colors. I get it. It's not 3 straight days. It's all my courses are at your own pace. So it's so great because I have a lot of people who will take the course and then life gets busy, right? For all of us, summertime, they get their first client 2 weeks later or 3 months later, they go back to the course. They kind of revamp, refresh. The course is there. It's at your fingertips, or you can pause, make dinner, jump right back into it. And the staging course is 3 weeks, technically long because that is big time staging, design, business foundational. And I started the color course for my stagers who already had that originally. And it's 3 days. How do we add color consulting to our current staging and design business? The color course is normally $849, but with the coupon, it's $50 less. Yeah, you're going to love it, Stephanie. Jump in. Lana, I've got a lot of agents who take my color course. I have a lot of agents who actually take my staging course. Really, staging course first, and then they also take the color course. And then they do it because they just love design. So if you're an agent who absolutely loves design, yeah, you can do that. It's hard to do both. Those are 2 full-time jobs, but you absolutely could. I have a lot that do both. You have access for a year. This is how we keep our materials fresh. I'm always adding and evolving the materials. So no, I don't do lifetime access on my courses. And even the trainers who do, I've taken lifetime courses, and guess what? The course went away. um, yes, Rebecca, it will definitely help you color selection for your home. And Rebecca, it will probably also help you talking to friends who are going through the same problems, trying to pick out colors. You can go in and help them, even as a hobbyist. I have a lot of people who take my color course, and that's, they just do that for fun and then charge, a fee. And guess what? They start becoming color consultant. Great questions. Yes, Dee, I have a lot of ideas. You just saw some of the materials that we provide for marketing your color business, but I have a whole module on how you would market that business, how you would set up an automated funnel to do that, and then how you could go out and easily market it. Um, yes, when the year comes off, like people ask renewal, you can always, I have people who took my color course, and my color course is always evolving, like I said, and we're always updating it. But if they took the course 5 years ago, they could renew at $99 and get right back in for another year. So I have a lot of people that do that. Yes, you do have the option to renew always. Once you also get a certificate. You get your certification in color. That's key because that's also a credibility factor. You become a certified color expert and you get that designation certification, which is recognized because it has been around and it is award winning. And that doesn't get taken from you. The only thing, the access goes away after a year. If you don't need to, you shouldn't because you've already learned it all, done it. But sometimes people want to jump back in. Oh, somebody said, "Your marketing funnels are so fabulous." And they've got Amanda, you need to email me and tell me your story. Amanda said that my marketing funnels, I have marketing funnels for every one of my courses. And that's really my secret to how you market automatically. If you don't know what a funnel is, I detail it in my course. But basically, it's how you get work. And Amanda said she's gotten so much work from setting up her marketing funnel. I love it. Thank you guys. Oh my goodness. You guys are amazing. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Good stagers and designers, the right kind of color consultations are going to make more money. Somebody said that marketing color consults were cheaper. You get what you pay for with design and color. Cheers to you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and hopefully I'll see you in my next workshop.